Hey fellas, this is part 2 of What If Naruto Has Minato's Intelligence. Hope you like this. Enjoy. When Naruto woke up the following morning, he sported a small smile on his face. This is it. It's the beginning of the new Naruto. Today marks the day when I'm leaving the old Naruto behind. Just you wait. Konoha, #1 unpredictable ninja, will show you just what he can do. The sleep in his own bed did him wonders and he was feeling rested and fresh. Eager to explore the new possibilities. He quickly changed into his orange jumpsuit and prepared a light breakfast for himself. While he was eating in the kitchen, his mind was running through many things he wanted to try and learn. However, with his new ability to think clearly, he also realized that even with his army of clones, becoming a ninja on par with Kakashi, or Hokage, was still a long and painful road. Yes, he was in possession of a cheat in form of Kage Bunshin, but since he actually paid attention to what Kyuubi told him, he knew that he couldn't overuse the technique. Being the forbidden jutsu, it had its drawbacks, and the increased mental stress was the worst thing for Naruto right now. Just over a week ago, his brain was working on low capacity, and even if Kyuubi broke the seal, it would take some time for his brain to adapt, and overloading it with information influx from his clones would be suicide. No, he needed to heed Kyuubi's words and take things slowly. I guess for now I'll focus on the things I need most. Slurping the rest of the noodles, he propped his head on his hand and concentrated on the most important thing. Where the hell should I train? Naruto wanted to keep his new training regimen a secret from the rest of his peers, from the rest of the Konoha. His new skills were meant to be a surprise, so training at the usual spot was out of the question. What is a place that nobody goes near, that is remote enough, and has enough room for me and my clones to train? A small light bulb lit up above his head. He punched the palm of his left hand with his right fist. Of course, the Forest of Death. His grin slowly faded when he realized what he said. Shrugging, he finished his meal and cleaned the table. Well, I can't be scared if I want to become a real shinobi. With that thought, he emerged from his small apartment, heading towards the abandoned forest. Outskirts of the Forest of Death. As he was nearing his destination, Naruto thought of one thing. The Forest of Death could very well serve as a dangerous form of survival training, aside from practicing jutsu, as there was probably only a handful of people that would willingly go into the forest. But maybe later. Right now, it would be a stupid thing to do. I'm still barely a genin level ninja, even if I have Kyuubi in my belly. It'd be pointlessly dangerous. Also, my clones would get dispelled too quickly. They don't possess high durability. After a few more minutes, wandering through the outer part of the place, he found a small clearing just before the fence that was surrounding the Forest of Death, preventing civilians from entering it by accident. Inspecting the place, he repeatedly nodded to himself, smiling lightly. Yep, this'll do. Just as he went to create his clones to start training, he heard a familiar, quiet noise and, with wide eyes, he rolled to the ground, barely dodging a kunai that flew by him. Who's there? He yelled after standing back up, holding his own kunai in defense. So much for a remote place. He gulped when he felt a cold steel of a kunai pressed against his neck and a voice from behind him. Well, what do we have here? A brat with deliciously smelling blood. Why are you here, kid? Don't you know why this place got its name, Forest of Death? A young-sounding feminine voice hissed quietly into his ear. Shivering slightly from the feel of breath on his skin, Naruto scoffed, trying to sound brave. Yeah, I know what this place is, I've been here before. An amused smirk came from behind him, as the kunai slowly trailed his vein. Oh, do tell, why would a kid end up in here? Naruto clenched his fist, apparently recalling something not pleasant. What's the better place to run to when villagers are trying to kill you? It's just the right place for a demon, right? You can also drop that kunai. I've been threatened too much to be scared by it. He replied snidely and felt the hand with a kunai slowly drop before a laughter filled his ear. Biwahaha, you almost got me, kid. For a second there, I almost believed you. The blonde sighed in resignation. Too cliché. Nah, you just suck at acting. When you lie, your brow cutely creases. However, you're that kid, so you probably met with some sort of nasty reactions from the idiots in the village. Naruto snorted and turned around to see a young kunoichi, staring at him with a small frown. She was most likely a woman in her 20s with purple hair tied into a short, spiky, fanned ponytail. Naruto had to avoid looking at her torso in embarrassment, as she was wearing only a mesh shirt with an overcoat on it, barely covering her developed bust and an orange mini-skirt. Registering what she said, he tilted his head. "That kid, so you know about my tenant?" he asked before he could stop himself. She mirrored his reaction and snorted loudly while shaking her head. "Of course I know. Most of the Jonin and even Chunin know about it." A slightly shocking revelation forced Naruto to sigh loudly. "Teeth. And it's supposed to be a secret." "Yeah, right," he mumbled, irritated. "So, then you probably know my name, Uzumaki Naruto, but who are you?" he continued. The woman grinned widely and pointed at herself. "Me, I'm Mitarashi Anko, the sexy torture and interrogation kunoichi, the devilish Tokubetsu Jonin of Konoha and one of the best kunoichi of this village," she yelled with a wink. Naruto's sweat dropped at her, forcing her to pout with crossed arms. Okay, Mitarashi-san, I don't mean to be rude, but I've already wasted too much time as it is, so, you know. Could you leave now?" he asked with a twitching eye. She gasped theatrically and resolutely shook her head. "What? You don't enjoy my company? I'm hurt, but if you'll call me Mitarashi-san again, you'll be the one that's going to be hurt," Anko stated with a threatening voice, but still grinning. "Oh come on, she's so annoying," Naruto whined in his mind. "If you want me to call you Mitarashi-sama, then forget it." He grimaced at her. "Nah, Anko is enough. Anko-san then." Sighing, she raised one eyebrow and folded her hands under her breasts, unconsciously raising them a bit. "So, what are you doing here, kid? This really isn't a place for a genin, and I assume you are a genin with that forehead protector you're wearing." Contemplating about revealing his intentions to train here, Naruto went silent for a moment. However, finding nothing bad about it, he shrugged. "Yeah, I'm a genin and I came here because I was looking for a nice, remote place to train myself. Before you ask, no, I don't want to train with the rest of my team, as we barely trained at all until now." Anko raised her second eyebrow. "You're telling me that your Jonin sensei hasn't taught you anything? He hasn't trained you? Who's your sensei?" she asked in disbelief. "Well, he taught us tree walking. His name is Hitaki Kakashi," Naruto retorted and watched in confusion. When the kunoichi in front of him started to laugh, she quickly raised her hand and wiped a small tear from the corner of her eye. "Oh, sorry about that, but, damn, you got some bad luck. Getting Kakashi. No wonder you want to train." Waiting for her laughing fit to end, Naruto kicked the dirt in irritation. "Giving me those gravity seals and some advice just saved you from me agreeing with her, Kakashi-sensei." "Okay, I get it, kid. You know what? Since I know Kakashi's reputation, I'll give you a bit of free advice, if you want," Anko offered him after finally calming down. "If what I hear is true, the kid needs a little help. I already see him doubting me. Thanks to those morons in the village, he must have been ostracized for a long time. Yeah, I know how that feels, kid." She thought grimly, but outwardly, she kept a happy expression. Naruto squinted his eyes. Not counting Hokage, Iruka and Kakashi, nobody had ever given him advice before. Not to mention voluntarily. That's why he was suspicious. Anko let him stare at her, still grinning at him. Well, she is a Jonin, maybe she can actually help. What the hell, I have nothing to lose here. Naruto thought about it and, after a moment, he nodded. Anko's smile widened further. Good for you, kid. With that, she started to circle him, analyzing every detail on his attire, nodding to herself. It took Naruto by surprise, as he was baffled by her actions. What are you doing?" he asked, confused. Whistling quietly, she nodded once again. "I'm observing. If you're willing to train here, with Forest of Death behind your ass, it means that you're at least serious with your training and that's a good thing. However, if you want to be also taken seriously, you need to change your clothes. Orange is like screaming at your enemies at the top of your lungs, come and kill me. It does have a nice amount of pockets and looks comfortable, but a respectable ninja should wear something different," Anko explained. Naruto pointed at her and asked with a small hint of amusement in his voice. And your clothes are good for a shinobi. With a small chuckle, Anko raised her finger and wagged it at him. For a shinobi? Definitely not. For a kunoichi? Absolutely. Seeing his confusion, Anko spun around, revealing the lightly transparent mesh shirt and forcing Naruto to look elsewhere. This is the answer, Anko stated. Your clothes are good for a kunoichi, because your boobs are showing. Naruto blurted out without thinking and then blushed after realizing what he said. It only widened Anko's grin. Close enough, kid. What did you do when I spun myself? You averted your gaze, which is by the way cute of you, but if you were my enemy and you'd done the same, you'd already be dead. So, a diversion? Naruto asked, looking at the ground with pink cheeks. Yes, partly. However, something like this can't affect more skilled shinobi. But these clothes, or even showing my body, it's good for seduction and that sometimes comes in handy, when your mission requires for you to get close to your target. A civilian target, Anko replied honestly. That answer left Naruto with bad taste in his mouth when he realized that in the future, his female peers, like Sakura or Ino, who was Sakura's best friend, would maybe need to seduce their targets. Anko noticed his disgusted grimace and waved her hand. Don't think about it, kid. When you'll be older, you'll be able to think about it more clearly, but right now, time for my advice. Get rid of your orange clothes and get the following. She trailed off when an amused smirk played on her lips. Get yourself a standard Konoha nin uniform, meaning dark blue or black pants and a mesh shirt with a suit in corresponding colors, flak jacket on top of it and blue or black sandals. Can you afford it? She continued and, after listing all of the items, she looked expectantly at Naruto, who was deep in thought. Can I afford it? Yeah. Just tell the store owners to offer me the same price they offer the rest of the Konoha shinobi and I'm good. They are as mean as the instructors in academy. If only I could send someone else to do the shopping. Wait. Academy. Someone else. A foxy grin appeared on his face. That's it. I can use henge for any kind of shopping. Now that my chakra control is better, I'm confident I can hold it until I'm done with the shopping. Hey. He looked up at Anko, who was still watching him and frowned. Not to be a smarty pants, but aren't such colors as bad as my orange jumpsuit? I mean, I will still be visible in a forest or in a similar environment. Anko shrugged. Maybe, but other shinobi will respect you more if you wear clothes like the others and not this excuse for clothes. No offense. None taken. Waiting for him to nod, she tilted her head until he grinned. You're probably right. I think I'll manage. Thanks, Anko-san. Yeah, no biggie. She exclaimed, rubbing her head in embarrassment. Being the former student of Orochimaru, one of the 3 legendary Sannin that betrayed his village, Anko wasn't used to being thanked just as Naruto wasn't used to getting free advice. Winking at the genin, she flared her chakra and disappeared in a shunshin. Naruto blinked at the sudden smoke in front of him and whistled quietly. Damn, I need to learn that too. After walking to the center of the clearing, he molded the needed chakra for his signature jutsu. Multi-shadow clone jutsu, he said and, with a popping sound, 100 Naruto clones appeared, filling his new training area. Naruto turned to his clones that were calmly awaiting his orders and called out to them. Okay guys, here's how it's going to go. I need to go buy new clothes and, after that, our team will probably go do some D-rank mission. In the meantime, you will do the following. Pointing to 10 closest clones, he nodded to them. You 10 will henge into some random Konoha shinobi, create your own design. It doesn't matter how it'll look, but it should be plain so that you would be forgettable. I want you to go to the Konoha library, where you'll split up. I have 2 elemental affinities, wind and earth, so I want you to find some low-rank jutsu for each of the element. Since my biggest asset is large chakra reserves, why shouldn't I use it to my advantage? If I have numerous jutsu in my repertoire, I can simply overwhelm my opponents with the amount of jutsu I'll spit on them. When you're sure you've read enough about the jutsu and you've memorized the hand seals, dispel so that the rest of the clones can try to learn them. That would be a job for 3 clones. The other 7, find some useful books on chakra control, elemental control, military strategy, whatever catches your eyes, and find out how to do the damn shunshin. It's way too cool for me to not learn it. Read until you can hold the henge and after that, dispel quietly. Go. He watched as the 10 chosen clones nodded and ran to the village. Originally, he wanted them to henge into civilians, but, after thinking about it for a moment, he changed his mind. Shinobi had more privileges in this village than any civilian, and they would be allowed into more sections of the library. Not to mention that the librarian that worked there never bothered Konoha Shinobi, and as soon as he saw the forehead protector, he let them pass without asking unnecessary questions. It meant that Konoha's library had a poor security, which could end badly, but right now, it played in Naruto's cards perfectly. Glancing at the rest of his army of clones, he rubbed his chin. The rest of you, until you have the memories of those 3 clones, practice kunai throwing, as our aim is only slightly above average, so no marooning. Taijutsu, ninjutsu, genjutsu, intelligence, strength, speed, stamina, and the speed of forming the hand seals. All of it must get refined. Without the Kyuubi's chakra, we are only a genin, and a weak one at that. I'm no fool, and I'm sure that Sasuke could beat our ass. That will change. He trailed off and cracked his neck joints. He pointed at the large group of clones. 39, 40. Okay, you 40 will focus on the jutsu from the clones, which would take care of the ninjutsu part. Naruto stated and motioned them to separate from the others. 30 of you will spar in taijutsu until I can find some particular style of fighting. I know that I can't use clones for physical training, but reaction time is more of mind strength than the physical one. Quote. He watched as another group separated itself and he adopted a thinking pose. That leaves 20 clones. I don't think I will be able to learn some high-level genjutsu, like ever, at least not with my chakra reserves, but the better chakra control, the better chance I may be able to do some low-level ones, or be able to dispel them. That's why 10 of you will concentrate on chakra control to try and improve it. What about us? A clone from the last group, consisting of 10 clones, asked loudly. Chewing on his lip, Naruto squinted his eyes. I can work on intelligence mostly only by reading stuff in the library or by getting experiences in the field, on missions. Strength, speed and stamina. Those 3 will get better with me wearing this gravity seals while I'm doing virtually any movements, and only I, the original, can improve them. The only thing that is left is the speed of forming the hand seals, and maybe throwing kunai. Well, 5 of you go over any hand seal to try and speed up their forming, and the other 5, practice throwing kunai until you run out of the chakra. The group of clones nodded and 5 of them immediately sat down, closed their eyes and were slowly going over the hand seals. Just before he exited the area, Naruto stopped in his tracks and quickly turned around. Oh yeah, and don't forget one thing. When some of you'll run out of chakra, always dispel only in groups of 10, never more. I don't need a splitting headache. And with that, he was on his way to the village. Konoha. Emerging from a small clothes shop was a short kid with short brown hair and a grin that went from his left ear to the one on his right. In his hands were 2 bags full of new clothes. Jacket, suit, flak jacket, pants, sandals, shirts, mesh shirt and more were safely tucked in. As he got to the corner of the shop, spotting a dark alley, the boy looked around and, seeing nobody suspicious, he quickly jumped in. When he was sure he was completely hidden, the boy was suddenly surrounded in a small cloud of smoke that after a moment revealed a chuckling Naruto in his orange jumpsuit. Ah yeah, mission. Clothes shopping with fair prices, successful. He carefully dropped the bags and took out the clothes Anko told him to buy. With a wide smile, nodding appreciatively, he changed into them. For shinobi attire, this is actually quite comfortable. As per Anko's advice, Naruto bought standard Konoha nin uniforms. The only thing that forced him to stay longer in the shop was the choosing between the colors. Since he couldn't decide, he bought a black set and a dark blue set, choosing the latter to wear right now. His flak jacket was, however, a different design than the one Kakashi wore, since the shop clerk told him that shinobi in Konoha usually got their flak jackets after becoming a chunin. That's why the one he currently wore was so different. Taking the bags into his hands, he turned to leave, when he remembered the orange jumpsuit lying on the ground behind him. He frowned when he set his sight on it. I can't take it back to my apartment. They're the clothes the old Naruto wore. Slightly grimacing, he picked the jumpsuit and walked to the nearby trash bin to throw it away. However, his hand trembled a little just before he dropped it in. This is the first thing the old man gave me after I entered the academy. He angrily wiped the small tear in his eye. Pathetic. I call myself a shinobi and I cry at this. It's just clothes. Single quote. Clenching his jaw, after he threw the jumpsuit away, he turned around, grabbed the bags and resolutely hurried to his apartment. After he placed the clothes into the drawer, Naruto checked the clock and cursed. Damn it, I should have been at the training grounds already. Just as he was reaching to the doorknob, he glanced at the mirror he was passing by and froze. It was his first time seeing himself in his new clothes. Another time, his first reaction would probably be that he looked damn good. However, in that moment, his legs buckled under him and he fell on his butt. I know someone who looks just like this. It's the man on the picture the old man keeps in his office, the fourth Hokage. He wanted to smile that he looked just like his idol, when a myriad of thoughts, connections that tied up the loose ends in his head, links between the information in his brain ran through his mind like a most destructive jutsu, completely eradicating his beliefs. Am I the son of the fourth Hokage? Widening his eyes at the ridiculousness of that thought alone, he tried to reboot his poor brain. But it would make sense when I think about it. I already know that the Kyuubi was sealed in me on the day I was born. When Kyuubi attacked, the fourth Hokage died doing it, which would explain why I never had a father, or even why I never heard anyone mentioning him. But what about my mum? A cruel thought crept on his mind. Did she leave me after the Kyuubi was sealed into me? Did she view me just like the rest of the Konoha does? Like a demon? He shook his head violently. No, I refuse to believe it. The only other explanation would be that she died along with the fourth, but I never heard that he had a wife. Damn. He punched the floor. But if he was my dad, why would he seal the Kyuubi in me? In his own son? With an angry snarl, he tried to pull out every bit of knowledge in his brain he had on the fourth Hokage. Think. What was said about him? Yeah, I remember. He was hailed as a genius, a prodigy of his generation, the term that is by the way handed out too loosely these days, a shinobi like nobody else. He was strong, fast, and intelligent, but for his whole life he stayed as he was when he was a kid. He stayed kind, gentle and thoughtful, always treating the rest of his peers and his friends without looking down on them. The whole village loved him, his shinobi respected him, kids adored him and he cared about them too. It's one of the reasons he became my idol in the first place. He was still a human being, having no cruelty in him, aside maybe from the battlefield, if I try really hard to think about it. I can't see him just use the first orphan he could lay his hands on for sealing the Kyuubi. He wouldn't put a stranger, not to mention a child, through something that cruel if he didn't have some other motive for it. Is it possible that he thought that the village would do something he thought was only logical, that the village would view me as a simple jailer, holding his demon prisoner at bay, that they would view me as somebody that actually protected them from Kyuubi? Gritting his teeth, he allowed a tear to drop on his hand. But even knowing this, knowing that his actions saved Konoha from utter destruction, I can't bring myself to forgive him for it. I was able not to think about it since Mizuki told me about me that day when I stole the Forbidden Scroll, but if he really is, if the fourth Hokage really is my dad, it only hurts more. If it's true and I'd meet him in this moment, I don't think I'd be able to forgive him. He wiped the tear and lay down, trying not to think about anything for a moment. Trying to empty his mind. There's too much that I don't know or that I'm not sure about. But I think I can be sure of one thing. It doesn't matter if the fourth was my dad or not, he was a genius, a person that never did anything without a plan. That tells me one thing. Suddenly forcing himself to stand up, Naruto squeezed his fists. It tells me that the fourth Hokage sealed the Kyuubi in me, thinking that one day, I'd be able to harvest its power for good. In case I'm right about him being my father, I still don't know why the old man never said anything about him or what the location of my mum is or if she's even still alive. I'll try to find out about this on my own until Hokage Gigi decides to tell me. But until then, I have a promise to fulfill. Something clicked in his mind. Now that I think about it, why would Hokage Gigi take care of me if I was some random orphan kid? Yes, he is a kind old man, but it would make more sense if it was because of who was my dad, his successor. On the other hand, maybe he did it because I'm holding the Kyuubi in me. On the yet another hand, maybe I'm overthinking this. Ino and the Yamanaka clan for example are blonde. I may very well be related to them just as I can be related to the fourth. This, being his son, is just my wishful thinking, but still, enough. Breathing steadily, trying to calm his emotions down, he emerged from his apartment and headed to the training ground reserved for Team 7. He was still deeply focusing on his breathing, so he didn't even notice that his surroundings changed and that he arrived at the training grounds. So the thing that actually woke him up from his musings was a loud yell. "You're late, stupid Naruto. We've been here with Sasuke-kun for almost half an hour." Naruto grimaced as her voice echoed in his ears, hurting his eardrum. He rubbed them and with a frown glanced at the girl. "Calm down, Sakura. Sheesh, do you want me to lose my hearing?" Before Sakura could retort in angry snarl, Sasuke interrupted her with a bored question. "What's with the clothes, Dobi? You're finally trying to look like a shinobi." After he mentioned it, Sakura actually tried to get a look at Naruto with raised eyebrows. Surprising Sasuke with his calm demeanor, Naruto turned to him with a small smirk. "You said it, Tomo eyes." Sasuke unusually widened his eyes a bit and with a small smirk of his own, he nodded appraising Ly. "About time, HMPH. He grunted with no malice in his voice. Naruto shrugged lightheartedly and walked to the nearest tree, slumping down while humming a quiet melody. Sakura was looking between the two boys with horror on her face. No way. Did stupid Naruto just get acknowledged by Sasuke-kun? But they hate each other. She thought with wide eyes. He's trying to get friendly with Sasuke-kun. We have to do it before him, cha. Her inner self declared resolutely. So with that Sakura spent the next half hour trying to get Sasuke's attention. And failing miserably. Naruto glanced a few times at the duo, thinking lightly. Wow, now that my head is clear, I can in fact see the frustration in Sasuke's eyes. He's not angry at Sakura nor is he irritated by her gibberish. He completely tuned her out and he doesn't hear even a word of what she's saying. It seems that what he said is true and his only goal really is just getting stronger so that he could kill that person. He's still a jerk, but a jerk with a strong resolve. Sitting next to Sakura, Sasuke was surprisingly thinking something similar. Well, it looks like the Dobi is trying to be a proper shinobi. He's calmer, more level-headed than before, but that won't be enough. HMPH, if he'll show some actual improvement he may stop holding me back. He glanced at the girl next to him, animatedly talking about some nonsense and sighed without her noticing. If only this idiot would get it through her big forehead, she was almost useless on our mission in Wave Country. In that moment, Naruto slightly jerked. The three clones from the library dispelled themselves, sending their memories to the rest of the clones and to the original. So what do we got? I see, Wind Release. Great Breakthrough Jutsu and Wind Release. Gale Palm Jutsu, both C-ranked offensive techniques. Interesting. Though only C-ranked, these jutsu's strength can increase by applying more chakra. Useful, very useful, and since I'm still a genin, even a C rank would be quite impressive for a starter. What next? Two more for Earth Release. Double Suicide Decapitation Jutsu and Earth Shore Return Jutsu. First one a supplementary technique while the second is defensive, makes sense. I can use Wind Element for attack and Earth Element to defend, it's logical. Both are, no, the Decapitation Jutsu is D rank. Oh, I remember that one, Kakashi pulled it off on Sasuke during our bell test. Earth Shore Jutsu is C rank and, whoa, what the hell? His eyes showed surprise when he came across the next memory from the clones. Fire Release. Great Fireball Jutsu, a C rank technique. Why would the clone read about this? I don't have a fire affinity. I mean, Kakashi-sensei said that it isn't impossible to learn jutsu of the elemental affinity you don't possess, but it's still tiresome. Suddenly, a small chuckle escaped his mouth. Fortunately, the rest of the team couldn't hear it. Oh, I get it. This jutsu is commonly used by members of the Uchiha clan, who used this jutsu as a coming-of-age rite. Hee, if I can actually learn this, I bet my new pants that Sasuke will explode. As he thought more about it, his chuckles became full-blown laughter, finally getting Sakura's attention. She stopped her babbling and turned to Naruto, looking at him as if he was crazy. What's up with that idiot, laughing his ass off like an asylum patient? A moment before Kakashi finally appeared, one thought went through her mind while looking at Naruto. Now that I think about it, the stupid Naruto called me Sakura and not Sakura-chan. Yo! Kakashi greeted them jovially. Forgetting about Naruto, Sakura snapped and yelled again. You're late, Kakashi-sensei. The Jonin waved his hands exaggeratedly. Ma, no need to yell, I just stumbled across an old lady that needed my help to carry her groceries, and when I finished that, a black cat crossed my path, so I had to take an alternate route. He was rambling until Sakura yelled at him again. While I do appreciate a good excuse, being a main Konoha prankster, Kakashi-sensei, we could have already been done with the mission. Naruto called out to him while slowly getting up. Ah, now that's where you're being mistaken as our next mission will take long year. Kakashi trailed off when he noticed Naruto's new look and his only visible eye widened. Sensei, he whispered, barely audibly for anyone to hear. Unfortunately, Naruto caught it and clenched his jaw. Sensei. So he was a student of the fourth Hokage. It must be. There wasn't anyone that looked like me in this village when Kakashi-sensei was still a genin. So, I have a new piece of the puzzle. He thought. Are you all right, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked the Jonin instructor tentatively. Hastily shaking his head, Kakashi broke out of his surprise and I smiled at Sakura. Yeah, sure, nice outfit Naruto. So, about this mission. We are going to help a farmer at the edge of the village with. He explained the details of the mission to the genin, however, his thoughts were elsewhere. I don't know who told him to buy this particular set of clothes, but he's now almost a splitting image of Minato-sensei. If the rest of the Konoha shinobi see him, most of them will probably instantly realize who he is, and I'm not sure that it's that of a great idea. Kakashi thought with a hint of uneasiness in his stomach. Everyone missed Sasuke's raised eyebrow. Sensei, what did he mean by that? In the evening, Naruto was jumping across the village in the direction of where his new place for training was, grumbling all the way. Kakashi took a D-rank mission for them that consisted of helping a simple farmer with plowing his soil, harvesting the planted vegetables and more manual labor, which left the whole team quite tired. Even Naruto himself felt the fatigue. On top of it, Kakashi prohibited him from using his shadow clones to help them with the mission. It was as if the man knew that Naruto already had some clones training elsewhere and didn't want to overwork the genin. In the end, Naruto almost had to thank him, as when his clones that were training dispelled, he felt even more tired. Never before had he felt it when he used his shadow clones in a fight. I guess that until now, my clones got dispelled in fights too quickly, so they couldn't have gathered any kind of experience, which is the root of my exhaustion. I still have enough chakra, it's my mind that's tired. Arriving at his new, remote training place, he sported a big grin. But I'm very much interested in how much progress my clones made. So that's where that clone's jutsu exploded, looks nasty. His eyes scanned the small devastated area at the edge of the clearing where one of his clones got dispelled after failing to execute one of the jutsu, resulting in a small explosion. Shuddering at the thought of having the jutsu blasting in his face, he exhaled deeply and ran over the hand seals for the first jutsu in his head. Tiger, ox, dog, rabbit, snake. Single quote. After forming every hand seal, he raised his hands with palms directed at the trees and exclaimed. Wind release. Great breakthrough. He sweat dropped when instead of a huge gust of wind that should have blown off every leaf on the tree in front of him, a light breeze emerged from his hands, barely shaking the tree branches. Aw crap, I should have known that it would be too much to know how to do a C-rank jutsu perfectly just after a day. Even with my shadow clones, it just stresses how much work I have ahead of me, and just how poor my chakra control still is. He glanced at the palms of his hands and grimaced. One more try with more chakra. He thought stubbornly and formed the necessary hand seals. Wind release. Great breakthrough. When the tree branches bended themselves against the sudden gust of wind, Naruto tiredly smiled and nodded. That's better. On to the next one. Okay. Pump my chakra and clap my hands. Then release the pressure in them forward. Wind release. Gale palm. A weak gale flew from Naruto's position, forcing the leaves on the tree to flutter. Scratching his head, the genin was thinking furiously. I see, Great breakthrough is to blow the enemies away, creating an opening to strike them, while Gale Palm seems to be more isolated, like it's meant only to be used against one opponent. It consumes a lot less chakra than the first jutsu, so it's safe to say that it should serve more as a supplementary jutsu. But what should it supplement? He accidentally brushed a kunai in his pouch with his left hand, making him suddenly slap his forehead. Of course, it's so obvious. Damn, I'm dumb. Naruto sighed as he pulled out a few of his kunai. Aiming at the more distant tree, he threw his kunai, and immediately after that, he clapped his hands and shouted, pumping more chakra into his arms. Wind release. Gale Palm. He smirked victoriously when the slightly stronger force of his jutsu increased the speed at which his kunai flew, forcing them to plunge a little deeper into the wood. Good. That's all for this jutsu. So, the remaining ones are earth jutsu and one fire jutsu. He wiped the sweat from his brow and concentrated on the next technique. Striking the ground with his hands full of chakra, Naruto looked up, awaiting a large wall of earth in front of him. Only to see a thin, barely holding barrier, that would most likely shatter if he so much as sneezed at it. More sweat appeared on his brow and he gulped. This will be tough. An hour later, Naruto was laying on the ground, heavily panting from overexerting himself while trying to correctly execute his new jutsu. It took him a lot of attempts and a lot of chakra to at least form a wall that could hold against a light gust of wind without crumbling down. He succeeded and, to his joy, managed to perform earth release, double suicide decapitation jutsu quite nicely on his third try. His fingers still hurt a little when doing the jutsu, meaning that his execution of the technique wasn't nearly perfect, but still, it was already usable. The fact that it was AD rank jutsu didn't break Naruto's excitement. The fact that he completely failed at his attempts to perform fire release, great fireball jutsu, however, did. Even after trying it over and over and after spending so much chakra that even somebody as sturdy as Naruto Uzumaki got exhausted, he only managed to create a smoking cloud in front of him that he almost choked on. So there he was, sprawled on the ground, trying to catch his breath. There was only one thing on his mind. Damn, I'm beat. Gravity seals, shadow clones training, doing missions at the same time. I think I can endure it for about a week before my head explodes, and it'll be a long, painful week. 3 days later, the next few days flew by in high speed that Naruto spent in the same routine. Get to his training place, create 100 shadow clones, send 10 of them in a henge to the library to snuff out some new information, knowledge he didn't have before, and leave the rest of them to train. He, the original, then did an obligatory mission with his team and, in the evening, after reporting in, tried to perform the jutsu, to see how much he improved. To his frustration, the progress was slow even with the help of his clones, which was greatly undermining his confidence. If he was doing so badly with his shadow clones, how bad would he be without them? His anger got the best of him and, yesterday morning, Naruto decided that it was time to kick it up a notch and created 200 clones, thinking that the difference would show itself. It did, by creating the most painful headache he'd ever had until that evening after his clones finally dispelled. When the clones started to dispel in groups, it was going smoothly. But after the last one puffed out of the existence, the joint experiences overloaded his recovering brain and made even the Kyuubi yell at Naruto, after he dived into his mindscape. The fox itself felt the effects of Naruto's headache and they manifested in his mind as catastrophic weather that was sending bolts of lightning at the Kyuubi, greatly infuriating it. When Naruto, with an amused expression after seeing Kyuubi's fur, fluffy from the electricity, said that he couldn't understand why his headache manifested as a storm, the nine-tailed fox roared at him and threatened to never help him again. While Naruto was already smarter than before, he wasn't arrogant to think that Kyuubi's rare help wouldn't help him to get stronger. So he, begrudgingly, promised never to use more than 100 shadow clones for his training, or until the fox deemed it safe for his brain. That's why, this morning, Naruto woke up slightly tired, the effects of the previous day still showing. His only luck was that today his team wasn't going on any missions as Kakashi was busy with something for the Hokage. Deciding that he would postpone the start of his training until he was feeling better that day, Naruto ate his breakfast and was now sprawled across his bed, thinking. Why do I suck so much at my new jutsu? Earth element is my second affinity and I can do earth jutsu already better than wind ones. But wind is my main affinity, what am I doing wrong? If only I could ask Hokage Gigi. Naruto's eyes shot wide and he hastily got up. Right, Kakashi mentioned that there is one person in this village that has a wind affinity too, Asuma-san. I heard old man talking about him, it's his son and Konohamaru's uncle and he's Shikamaru's Jonin-sensei, maybe he could give me some pointers. There's no point in refusing to find a help when I clearly need one. With a hopeful smile, Naruto sprinted out of his apartment, heading towards Shikamaru's favorite cloud-watching spot, hoping that the lazy Naru would be there with his sensei. With Shikamaru. Aw man, those clouds are so lucky. They only have to float, from one place, to another. If only I could do it, but no, we have to train, what a drag. The Nara offspring sighed heavily and bit on the small stalk of grass he held in his mouth. Ever since Asuma Sarutobi picked up his team and became its Jonin instructor, Shikamaru was forced, more often than he liked, to participate in shinobi training. While he knew that with shinobi work came responsibilities and many dangers that could potentially kill him, for now, he was content with being a lowly genin and doing at most AC-ranked missions, which held only minimal risk. Oi, Shikamaru, don't you want to play another round of shogi? Asuma called out to the genin. Shikamaru sighed again. Man, since he gave me that IQ test he's so content on playing the shogi with me that I have no time to just watch the clouds. A shadow that suddenly hovered above him, made Shikamaru open his eyes in curiosity. He came face to face with Naruto, who was grinning at him and raised an eyebrow. Yo, Shikamaru, what's up? Naruto greeted him. Oh, it's Naruto, troublesome. With a minimal movement, a lazy genius nodded to him, acknowledging his presence. Hey Naruto, what are you doing here? I thought you were supposed to be on a mission. Naruto shook his head. Nah, we have a free day, and I actually came to talk with your sensei, Asuma-san. This got Shikamaru's attention and the genin slowly sat and stared at his former classmate. Why? Shooting a big grin at him, Naruto raised his finger. That's a secret. Shikamaru only sighed and didn't pursue the question further. He closed his eyes again, but when Naruto's shadow didn't move for a moment, he blinked and noticed that the blonde was looking at him with some sort of silent question in his eyes. What? Naruto pointed behind him, where Asuma was talking to the rest of his team, Choji and Ino. You realize that I never met your sensei, so could you introduce me to him? With a sigh, Shikamaru lazily got up, mumbling, troublesome, all the while. When they walked over to the group, Shikamaru called out to his instructor. Asuma-san, this troublesome blonde wants to talk to you. His name is Uzumaki Naruto, I know. Asuma interrupted his student after a quick glance at Shikamaru's friend. Both of them raised their eyebrows in silent question. Asuma only waved his hand. Kakashi often talks about you, Naruto. It's actually very surprising coming from him. He rarely has students he really likes. Kakashi-sensei talks about me. Naruto thought in surprise. Nice clothes by the way, they suit you better than your old ones. Asuma continued and lit his cigarette with a small frown. I guess this answers the question of why Kakashi likes him. He really looks like the mini Yondaime. I'm surprised that more people haven't connected the dots already. I'm sure that I would have guessed it even without Dad telling it to me. He thought and sucked on his cigarette. Hey, Naruto, how's it going? Want some snack? Choji greeted the former knucklehead warmly, but before the latter could answer, Ino interrupted them. Why is stupid Naruto here? She snapped. Before he could defend himself, Ino's eyes widened and she almost grabbed his shoulders. You left forehead with Sasuke-kun. Ino yelled, a pure horror in her eyes. I'm sure he has a reason. So, you wanted to talk to me. Asuma quickly shot Ino a warning stare that forced her to sit back down, although with a huge frown. Finally having a room to talk, Naruto dismissed Ino's ranting even though it hurt him to hear that some of his old classmates still clearly hated him. Yes, I wanted to talk to you but, could we talk in private? It's kind of a secret. Naruto asked and shot an apologizing glance at Choji, who only chuckled. Asuma, on the other hand, curiously raised his eyebrow. Seeing Naruto pointing his eyes at the near tree, he sighed and followed the genin. So, He leaned on the tree and exhaled a cloud of smoke to his right. A surprise awaited him when Naruto switched from his previously cheery attitude to a serious look. I heard from Kakashi-sensei that you're the only one beside me who has a wind affinity in Konoha. Naruto stated calmly. Asuma stopped his hand from moving after hearing this and he raised his eyebrow. That's true. Along with fire, I possess a wind affinity, but I didn't know that you do too. I'm also a bit surprised that a genin is interested in elemental manipulation. You have to forgive me for saying this, but your academy record would never suggest that of all the new genin, you'd be the first to ask this kind of question. Did Kakashi tell you anything about it? He replied seriously. Naruto shook his head. It's all right. I realize that I did poorly in academy, that's why I want to improve myself, but secretly, that is the reason I wanted to talk to you privately. Kakashi-sensei only explained the basic attributes of each of the element and told me that you have a wind affinity, same as me, while Hokage Gigi has an earth affinity like me. Asuma raised his second eyebrow. You have two elemental affinities. Hey, now that's interesting. A dead last with two strong affinities, what are the odds? So, you want to know something about the wind element? Well, kind of. A few days ago, I started to teach myself a few jutsu, and while I progress nicely with the earth jutsu, I just can't seem to grasp the wind ones. My wind release, great breakthrough and gale palm are not strong enough, and even though I can create quite a strong blast of wind, it's harmless, so I thought that there must be something I'm doing wrong. Naruto grunted, irritated. He's trying to learn two wind jutsu and earth jutsu at the same time. This kid must be sturdy as hell. And to think that he can already perform them. The only thing that's missing is the key element, but from what I hear, his jutsu are already usable, not bad. I think that I can give him one bit of advice. Asuma nodded appreciatively. He suddenly reached to his pouch and took out two knuckle knives, holding them for Naruto to see them clearly. These are my chakra knives. They are made of a special metal that absorbs the chakra nature of the holder. Try holding it and flow your chakra into the knife like this. The knife in his right hand suddenly glowed in blue, a sharp-looking aura surrounding the knife. He handed the other knife to Naruto, who concentrated for a moment, and after a few seconds, his knife was glowing too, although the aura was bubblier. It's different from the way your chakra looked, Asuma-san. Asuma grinned and raised his hand with a knife. Listen up. When manipulating the wind-type chakra, you've got to imagine splitting your chakra into two and grinding them together. Do it so that the chakra fields sharpen one another into fine pieces. He explained slowly and watched Naruto frown. Sharpen them into fine pieces, huh? The blonde trailed off, already picturing the image in his mind. Exactly. The thinner and sharper, the better. Naruto glanced down at his glowing knife, an idea coming to his mind. From the way your chakra looks, I guess it's supposed to make these knives even sharper, right? Good. He understood, but maybe a demonstration would be even better. Asuma thought. Yes. When two weapons clash, the one with the sharper blade wins. This should explain things faster. Keep the chakra in your knife and we'll both throw these chakra knives at that tree together. Asuma proposed and pointed his finger on Naruto's left side, at the tree with a boulder behind it. Okay. Naruto nodded and quickly followed Asuma's example, both of them throwing their knives at the tree. Naruto widened his eyes when he watched the knife that Asuma threw easily cut through the tree and sink deeply into the boulder behind it. Wow. Amazing. So that's what the wind chakra can do. It didn't just cut through the tree, the knife pierced the hard rock behind it too, and that much. His eyes widened further after Asuma's next sentence. Well, it can get dangerous, so I limited my chakra use, but if I tried, that knife would cut through that rock as well. What? Yeah. The wind element has the strongest offensive power for close and middle-ranged fights. It's actually quite rare, this wind type. Asuma stated with a smile. Can't argue with that, Naruto said, glancing at the pierced rock again. He turned to Asuma and lightly bowed to him. Thank you, Asuma-san. I can already picture what I could do with the proper use of wind element. What do you want in return for this advice? Asuma stared at him for a moment, the smoke steadily rising from his cigarette. You owe me nothing. As you are first genin to ask this, I'm doing it for free, but next time you want advice, you'll have to pay for the yakiniku. More free advice. I seem to be getting a lot of that these days. I'm almost suspicious, but I guess that even I can have some luck. After the past 12 years of misfortune, Naruto's mouth bent itself into a smile and he thanked Asuma, who watched him leave with a smile. After getting back to his team, Shikamaru called out to him. What did Naruto want? I saw you throw something. The Jonin smirked at him. Well, if you weren't so lazy, I would tell you. So you say, Asuma-sensei, but I'm sure that those were your chakra knives. That must mean you talked about chakra natures. But Naruto can't be working on elemental manipulation, can he? Ah, troublesome, the blonde made me think. Shikamaru thought with a sigh. With Naruto feeling better after eating ramen at the Ichiraku stand, Naruto decided to head to his training place to start his daily routine. After arriving, he created once again 100 clones and, after giving them the usual orders, he was on his leave when a leaf landed on his forehead. He grabbed it and looked at it speculatively, paying no actual attention to the leaf. Instead, thinking about what Asuma told him that day, he accidentally tore the leaf. He glanced at it in surprise and his face lit up, an idea hitting him from seeing the two pieces of the leaf. That's right. Asuma-san said that I have to picture splitting my chakra in two and grinding them together. I wonder if I'd able to split a leaf using only my wind chakra. Hastily grabbing another leaf from the branch hovering above him, he concentrated on what Asuma told him earlier. In two, together, he mumbled, and when a bead of sweat formed on his forehead, he glanced down on the leaf and noticed a little, truly a tiny cut on the edge of the leaf. He wiped the sweat into his sleeve and grinned widely. This is a great practice idea. I'm sure that after I'm able to cut the leaf completely, using only my chakra, I can master my jutsu. His clones raised their eyebrows when they saw the original speeding back to them. After an abrupt stop, he waved at them with a leaf in his hand. Listen up, I'm changing the orders. From now on, until you can get it done, all of you that were practicing the wind jutsu, grab a leaf and try to split it using only chakra and keep Asuma-san's advice in mind. Exiting the area after the big group of clones nodded, Naruto thought resolutely. I'm sure that this will be of great help. A week after raising the gravity seals. It was a cloudy morning when Naruto woke up with a splitting headache. His eyes twitched in pain and he grabbed his head. Damn it, I guess a week is as much as I can train continuously with my shadow clones. My head is killing me. Even though he was in pain, Naruto managed to smile a bit. Last evening, after his clones dispelled and he got every piece of their memories, he was ready to celebrate. The group of clones that was handling his wind chakra managed to split the leaf. The group of clones that was handling his earth chakra managed to perfectly perform the D-ranked jutsu and the C-ranked one needed only slight tweaking. The group of clones that was handling his kunai throwing managed to strike every target with nice precision. It still wasn't on par with Sasuke, but he was slowly getting there. The group of clones that was handling his chakra control greatly improved this skill, and that was one of the reasons the first group managed to actually split the leaf. And finally, the group of clones that was handling knowledge and was regularly in the Konoha library found a book for beginners in Fuinjutsu that almost instantly caught his attention, so he secretly took it home as a reading in his free time. Also, they found a D-rank genjutsu, demonic illusion, hell viewing technique, a rather weak genjutsu that Naruto remembered Kakashi using on Sakura during the bell test. It was listed as one of the basic genjutsu, and Naruto vowed that by the time of the Chunin exams, he would learn at least this one genjutsu, even if he would have to spend dozens of his clones on learning it. His plan for the next week, in which he wouldn't use his shadow clones for training, was simple. He would use the time to try and find a suitable taijutsu for him, as his clones that trained it managed to somewhat master the academy style, but it proved to be weak and easy to counter. Not to mention that it didn't suit Naruto. Also, he would try to get used to this level of gravity seals, so that he could, by the end of this second week, raise the level again. But first things first, I want to know if my wind jutsu are stronger after I learned how to cut the leaf in two. In a matter of a few minutes, he arrived at his training place and took a breath to calm his muscles. Calling out to the memories of his clones, he concentrated on sharpening his chakra and, when he was confident, yelled out his jutsu. Wind release. Great breakthrough. Quote. His eyes almost bulged out of their sockets after seeing the effects of his jutsu, and he glanced at the destruction. This is how I imagined the jutsu to work. Damn, what a difference. He used a good amount of chakra for this jutsu and the results showed themselves. A whole line of trees in front of him was quite damaged. The trees had gashes in them. Many branches were either cut off, or they broke against the force of the jutsu. Almost all of the leaves were ripped from them. One smaller tree was even ripped from the ground, its roots sprawled on the grass. All in all, for a C-rank jutsu, it was a good amount of damage. And it made Naruto grin widely. Just you wait, Sasuke, I'll catch up with you soon, and you wait too, Haku. I'm getting stronger and I will fulfill my promise to you. Why the long face, Naruto-kun? Ayame, the daughter of the owner of the ramen stand, asked as she watched Naruto slowly eat his bowl of ramen. It was obvious that the blonde's mood was low since she never saw him sigh so much and eat his favorite food with such little enthusiasm. Naruto poked the small piece of pork meat in his meal and sighed again. It's just, no matter what I do, I can't seem to grasp this one technique I'm determined to learn. It's been several days and I haven't made any progress at all. It sucks. He lazily stuck a small amount of noodles in his mouth and chewed on them, frustration written all over his face. Ayame reached out to him and rubbed his hair with an encouraging smile. Cheer up, I'm sure that you'll get it done. After all, you're Konoha's #1 most unpredictable ninja, right? There is nothing you can't do, I'm sure of it. Offering her a half smile, Naruto nodded and quietly finished his meal. He put some money on the counter and walked away, kicking dirt in the process. What's up with him? The owner of the ramen stand, Chuki, showed up after hearing Naruto leave. It seems he's been having problems with his training. Ayame replied and watched Naruto's back slowly disappear with an anxious frown. After hearing this, Chuki chuckled a bit, earning a glare from his daughter. Don't worry about Naruto. If there's one thing I learned after having the kid as a customer for this long, it's that no matter what, he won't give up on anything. He may get angry, frustrated or even sad, unlike what most people think, but he'll never give up on his word. It's his nindo, or did you forget? He quickly stated. Ayame pouted at him and disappeared in the kitchen. Of course I didn't forget, I'm just not used to seeing him sad, it doesn't suit him. She called out. Chuki nodded to himself. That is true, it really doesn't suit him. Konoha needs his smiling face. With Naruto, she's right. I promised myself that until the Chunin exams, I'd learn that cursed genjutsu, and here I am, only 5 days later, ready to burst from frustration. Naruto thought more calmly. But damn it, without my clones, it takes so much time for me to learn it. I should probably focus on something else until I can use my clones again. It is only 2.5 days until then, after all. Jumping from building to building, it took him only few minutes to arrive to his training place. Getting to the center of the clearing, he cracked his knuckles. Okay, I'm postponing the genjutsu training until I can use my clones. Until then I should try to perfect the other jutsu I've been learning. He built up his chakra and went over the hand seals quite faster than he was able more than a week ago. Wind release. Great breakthrough. Watching the destruction with a satisfied grin, his thoughts slowly drifting from the genjutsu problem, Naruto took out his kunai and threw them at the distant trees. Wind release. Gale palm. When all of his kunai hit the wanted marks, sinking deeply into the wood, courtesy of their enhancement with the Gale Palm Jutsu, his grin widened. Nice, it looks like I have those 2 mastered already. Now on to the rest of the jutsu. He smashed the fist into the ground below him. Earth release. Earth shore return. Whistling at the wall of earth that rose in front of him, he walked a few steps so that the wall from the jutsu would be only few meters away. With a loud yell, he jumped and crossed the distance in an instant, aiming a kick at the wall, trying to find out its durability. A sudden yelp was a clear indication that the wall proved to be harder than his leg. He massaged his foot and appreciatively nodded at the wall. It had only a small dent in it, which meant that it was at least strong enough to withstand a kick from an average genin. That was good enough. Since his next learned jutsu was only AD rank, he could now perform it just like it was written in the scroll. But his grin faltered when he realized that it was time for his last new jutsu. Sticking his tongue out and biting on it, He hesitated for a moment and then he went through the hand seals. Fire release. Great fireball. Quote. I knew that this would worsen my mood. Naruto grunted and wiped his mouth. After almost 2 weeks of training, 1 week consisting of using shadow clones, Naruto was still unable to properly perform the Uchiha's signature jutsu. His fireball was for now only a small orb of fire the size of a football ball. What was more frustrating was the fact that he knew that he was doing everything right and he should have been able to master this jutsu a few days ago. The only problem was the fact that fire was not one of his affinities, hence his problems with mastering a jutsu of this element. Meh, I'm sure that the more I try to practice, the better I'll get, so no worries. Remembering the fireball Sasuke managed to spit the last time he saw him, Naruto clenched his fists. No worries. Deciding to give himself a free day, he hurried to his apartment to read his Fuinjutsu book. 2.5 days later, finding himself at his training place once again, Naruto's mood was entirely different from his last few days. It was finally time to try and raise the level on the gravity seals he wore 24/7. As per Kakashi's instructions, before he would attempt to do it, he had to release all of the seals, so that he could get used to the sudden increase in his strength and speed. Forming a single seal, he concentrated. Gravity seals. Release. After suddenly feeling incredibly light, Naruto happily smiled, and tried to sprint across the clearing, only to end up with his face splattered against a tree. He fell on his butt and massaged the sore places. His smile was, however, still present. This is amazing. The increase in speed after getting from the second level to the third is higher when comparing to the increase from the first to the second. I can definitely switch to the third level, and I bet that right now I'm faster than even Sasuke. Laughing in joy, he was in the middle of forming the seal to increase the level when a harsh voice stopped him. Stop it, brat. It was so sudden that Naruto couldn't help himself and jumped in fear that something or someone found him. Realizing who talked to him, he frowned. Damn it, Kyuubi, you almost gave me a heart attack. Sitting down on the ground, Naruto closed his eyes and inhaled deeply, trying to plunge into his mindscape. Naruto's mindscape. I'm here, Kyuubi, what do you want? Naruto had to brace himself when a powerful gust of wind almost knocked him down. Don't talk to me like we are some sort of friends, brat. The nine-tailed fox growled at him. Oi, I'm grateful that you got rid of the seal for me, but don't forget that we're stuck here together and I'm no longer that scared of you. Naruto yelled back, masking his small fear of the fox with false bravado. That's better. Kyuubi grunted and yawned. Meanwhile, Naruto's sweat dropped and looked at the demon incredulously. That's better. He wants me to yell at him. I don't get him. So, what is it? He asked again, and this time, Kyuubi only blowed a light breeze at him. Not much, brat. I just wanted to stop you from doing something stupid. Seeing that Naruto only blankly stared at him, Kyuubi continued. Do not activate the third seal yet. With his eye twitching, Naruto grunted. I understand your language. There's no need to be an ass, but why shouldn't I activate the third level? The Kyuubi looked at him as if he was stupid. I thought that you were smarter now. Listen, brat. You have jumped from 0 to be able to handle the third level of those gravity seals in the span of 3 weeks. Give your body a day to adjust to the increase in speed and strength. An hour was enough when you jumped from the first level, but this time, a day should suffice. Or else you'll end up smashing into trees. I thought that you'd think of it as that Cyclops' advice was on your mind a minute ago, but I guess there are parts of your brain that are still not functioning properly. The fox explained. Naruto felt his face heat up. Shut up. I knew that. I was only caught up in the moment. He yelled in embarrassment. The Kyuubi only watched him in mild amusement. Hey, riling up this human is always a nice change of pace. Why do you even care so much? Wouldn't it only serve for your amusement if I'm crashing into trees? Naruto asked suddenly. When the demon kept silent, he widened his eyes in amused surprise. Don't tell me that the great Kyuubi suddenly came to like me. This time, he was blown away after a blast of wind knocked him from his feet. Do not talk nonsense, human brat. I am the great nine-tailed fox, the greatest of all Biju. The embodiment of hatred and destruction. If you think that the likes of me would be able to feel something such as, like, just because you managed to slightly improve yourself, then you're just kidding yourself. Get over yourself, brat. And you know what? Get out. I'm getting tired of you already. Kyuubi shouted, his previous amusement changed into anger, releasing pulses of chakra that were only stopped thanks to the seal on his cage. But the effects of the chakra, the malicious intent, were so strong that Naruto had to keep himself from shaking and gulped heavily. Okay. Note to self, never piss off Kyuubi ever again. He hastily closed his eyes and awoke in the real world. Wiping his sweaty forehead, he widened his eyes. Wait. Did Kyuubi just give me a compliment? Nicely hidden, but still, a compliment. In his mind, Kyuubi was still growling. Idiotic brat. Getting ahead of himself. Never think that I'd ever come to like you, brat. Someone like me is not capable of that. Respect you. Maybe. If you convince me that you're different than other humans, but if you can't do that, be afraid of the moment when you'll try to control my power, or I'll devour you whole. Following day, after the little talk with the Kyuubi, Naruto quickly came to realize that the fox saved him some humiliation. He spent the rest of the day trying to get accustomed to his increased speed and strength. It wasn't like he was using another body, but his eyes weren't able to follow the sudden changes in directions whenever he used high-speed movements and needed some time to adjust. His reflexes also needed different timing. It's cool if you're moving so fast that the enemy can't even spot you, and it's also cool if you see where you're going at that velocity. However, if your reflexes can't react in time to avoid a random obstacle, all of it doesn't matter. That way, if Naruto tried to show off his new agility without previously adjusting to it, he would only end up humiliating himself. With his luck, it would be in front of Sasuke. That thought alone convinced the genin that he shouldn't speed up his training too much right away. So he worked hard the whole day, until the stars were the only source of light, barely providing him with enough visibility. This morning, when he tried to move around a bit, he found out that his senses, reflexes and everything else was up to date, and it was time for him to adjust the gravity seals. He spent only minuscule time to marvel at the capabilities of the human body that could adjust to new conditions so quickly. The fact that he was a shinobi, whose body was also fully pumped up with chakra, made things little bit more believable. Once again, forming a ram seal, he focused on the seals. Oh she! He cursed with his legs furiously shaking from the sudden increase of weight pressing down on him. Mon, if this is only the 3rd level, I don't want to know what the 5th feels like, and to think that Kakashi-sensei said that these gravity seals are too low level for him. If all of the Jonin are on his level, I pray to God that I won't meet one as my enemy for a long time. Zabuza was crazy strong, and even he was beaten by Kakashi-sensei. Biting on his lip, he formed another hand seal. 3rd level of gravity seals activated, so it's time to get back to my special training. Multiple shadow clone jutsu. With a neutral expression, still slightly shaking from the pressure on his limbs, he called out to his clones, gaining their attention. As you all know, aside from the fireball jutsu, we managed to master the rest of the jutsu. So, the same amount of clones that were training the fireball jutsu will continue to do so until we get the hang of it. The group that was concentrating on hand seals and kunai throwing will now try to learn that one genjutsu, demonic illusion, hell viewing technique. I want to have it mastered as quickly as I can. Once again, some of you go to the library and find some new jutsu to learn, preferably at least C ranked. Send the information to the rest of the clones after you're done. Well, you know the drill. Oh, and the taijutsu group, try to do the same thing you tried last time. Maybe we could develop something from it by the time the Chunin exams will take place. Naruto listed, and allowed himself a small smile at the end. The last time he trained with his clones, they accidentally stumbled on something, while trying to come up with something new to add to his fighting style. It was still in very early stages of development, but if he could manage to incorporate that particular thing in his taijutsu, his hand-to-hand skill would turn him into quite a dangerous shinobi quite quickly. Later that day, Naruto was anxiously waiting for the knowledge from his clones in the library, and he even momentarily forgot about being upset with Kakashi, or even the fatigue from new level of gravity seals. Their tardy sensei got them another D-rank mission, which was now quite visibly frustrating not just Sasuke, who wanted to go on a C-ranked task immediately after the incident in Wave, but now even Naruto couldn't help but be irritated. One time Kakashi said that he won't hold their hands when being their instructor, and next time he was adamant on taking only D-ranked missions because he didn't want to expose them to unnecessary danger. It was aggravating. But as he was walking along the river on the outer edge of Konoha, his clones in the library finally dispelled and he eagerly sat down to sort through their memories. What did the clones find? 2 Wind Jutsu. Wait a second, this will be interesting. Wind Release. Air Bullets, a technique that shoots multiple bullets of air at the victim with intense speed. If the user is highly capable in using wind element, this jutsu can be classified as a B-rank technique. If the ability to manipulate wind element is lower, it becomes only a C-ranked jutsu. Alright, B-ranked it will be. Naruto grinned zealously. Next is Wind Release. Wind Cutter technique, but I don't use any sword or war fan or anything else, so why did the clone read it? I have enough on my plate to suddenly start learning Kenjutsu, so why? Ooh. The blonde slapped his forehead when he came across a memory of his clone sketching something on a piece of paper. So my clone found a different variant where I don't use any kind of blade to release the wind slash, but instead I use my hand to create multiple blades of wind, creating a single scythe of sharp air, and it's called vacuum slash. Nice. That's for the wind element. What did they dig up for earth element? When the memory showed itself, Naruto had to smile. Earth Release. Shadow Clone Jutsu. I already have shadow clones, but this elemental version seems rather useful. A clone is made of mud of the user, which gives it unique features. It can continue to reform and mold itself back to its original shape as long as it still possesses chakra. Once reverted to mud, the clone can serve as a powerful restraint that is capable of completely halting the opponent's movements. Indeed, very useful. However, being a variation of shadow clone technique, it is a B-rank jutsu. I hope I can manage. Well, I'll worry about it later. Second one is Earth Release. Earth Dome Jutsu. It creates a dome constructed from the earth, which is used for defense. A C-ranked jutsu. It seems that the earth really is great element for protecting. Good. He massaged his head and sighed. And that marks the end for today. The only other thing that my clones found out is something about seals, which I'll try back at my apartment. Content with the amount of new knowledge absorbed from his clones, Naruto stretched his legs and arms. They were becoming numb from sitting still for the past half hour. He propped himself and leaned back to relax. Enjoying the view on the nature around him, he deeply inhaled the scent from the near trees and flowers with a huge smile playing on his lips. He was becoming stronger and he knew it. Overall, his skills were drastically improving, and in some areas, he was already quite good, and he started to train this hard barely a month ago. For a genin that didn't come from any Konoha's clan, his ninjutsu arsenal was quite large. He counted 7 mastered techniques, and they went from a basic E-ranked jutsu to even one A-ranked. It was only a massive version of Shadow Clone Jutsu, the multiple Shadow Clone Jutsu, but it was still rather impressive for a mere genin. His taijutsu was sporting signs that it would come along, while his genjutsu skills still sucked. With his better chakra control, he could most likely dispel some low-level genjutsu, but nothing more. It still came as a surprise to him when he got the memory from his clone that read about genjutsu and how to dispel them. He was now sure that the instructor in the academy, that he stayed in detention with, purposely taught him nonsense. That was quite depressing, but he forced that thought into the back of his mind, where his other distasteful memories stayed. The most important thing was that he was now in possession of the right knowledge on genjutsu and how to counter them. After he shook off the blank look he had for the past few minutes, he turned his head to see some kids on his far right playing in the nearby river. At that sight, his train of thought that was going over his current abilities derailed itself. He remembered another important fact that he didn't pay attention to at the time he noticed it. Stopping himself, before he would slap his forehead again, Naruto heavily sighed. Once again, I must say, I'm not a clever person, no matter how much I'd like to think I am. To forget such crucial information, better late than never, I guess. He got up, slowly walked to the river bank and removed his sandals along with the socks before walking in the river. When the water washed his ankles, he shuddered. It was quite cold. He glanced at the kids that were still playing and splashing the same water on themselves, forcing him to shake his head. Why would they play in such cold water? But that wasn't the most important question at the moment. Why would I forget such a detail of Kakashi-sensei's and Zabuza's first fight? Both of them were walking on the freaking water surface. That's why Kakashi-sensei made us do the tree walking. It was a preparation before he could attempt to teach us the water walking, but I guess that after we managed to finish the wave mission, once again, our tardy-sensei forgot about it. I swear to God that man is less responsible than I ever was. Naruto deadpanned mentally and prepared to try the water walking. Heeding Kakashi's words when he showed them how to walk on trees, the blonde focused an appropriate amount of chakra to the bottom of his feet and raised his right foot. Slowly, very carefully, he lowered it until it touched the surface of the water. Something was telling him that this attempt would end as a failure, but nevertheless, he put more weight on his right foot and tried to do the same with his left one. For one extremely short moment, he seemed to hover, with his feet slightly below the water surface, before he ended on the bottom. Fortunately for him, he chose to stay near the river bank, so the sudden loss of altitude was only minimal and he managed to hold his posture. It seems that I just found another great chakra control exercise. Tree walking, holding leaf on forehead, both of those pale in comparison to this. Even with my improved chakra control I can't do it properly. Despite that, Naruto widely smiled. He wasn't happy that he couldn't do something. He was happy that he found something that would make him stronger while trying to master it. Every little thing like this was only bringing him closer to his dream. Step by step, adopting a thinking pose, Naruto stroked his chin. Yes, Uzumaki Naruto, a kid who just a few months ago used to run all over the village, chased by Chunin or Jonin after pulling a prank on Konoha, was now able to stand still, think calmly in an attempt to try and figure out a problem that had nothing to do with any prank. It was probably good that nobody that knew him from that time saw him, or else they would have believed that they were trapped in some powerful genjutsu. So what is needed for water walking? As I already noted, the tree climbing exercise is most likely something that should prepare you for this. And it proved effective, as I was able to, even if only for a split second, stand on the water. But I fell soon enough. That means that it involves focusing your chakra to the bottom of your feet just as well. His gaze traveled across the water surface. Think, what more I need to do? Tilting his head and crouching a little, he noticed the small waves, the trepidation of the water surface. The sight gave him a sudden clarity. Yes, that must be it. Water is never steady, never calm. It always moves, so the surface is not as simple as wood. Sometimes, as it flows around your feet or under it, you have more or less amount of surface on which you can stand on. That must mean one thing. You can't simply coat your feet with a fixed amount of chakra, you have to constantly change the amount you emit. Changing his tactics, he tried, once again, to focus his chakra to the bottom of his right foot and put it on the water surface. His weight was still on his other leg as he wanted for a moment to just try to feel the constant changes in the water he was touching with his right foot. Inhaling through his nose, he tried to steady and slow his breathing. For somebody that was always packed to the brim with energy, standing still on his one leg was almost a painful thing. He was basically trying not to move, just to feel the cold liquid on the skin of his foot. He closed his eyes and opened his eardrums to the sound of the nature that surrounded him. It always helped him calm down after a stressful day. Naruto stayed in that position for a few minutes before finally feeling it. Okay, now focus on the changes and adjust the flow of the chakra to it. Less water equals less chakra. Come on Naruto, you can do it. As a bead of sweat lazily trailed his cheekbone, his foot that was hovering on the water's surface slowly shook before becoming still. With gritted teeth from the constant demand on his concentration, he shifted his body weight on his right foot and, feeling it was somewhat steady, he repeated the process with his left foot. A few moments later, a sweaty Naruto with closed eyes, clenched jaw and his arms hovering in the air trying to hold his balance, managed to stand on the water surface for a full 5 seconds. Before his concentration broke and he fell on his butt, drenching his clothes with water. This time, he welcomed the cold liquid that helped him to cool off. With his left hand he went through his hair, but, despite everything, his smile was still present. Phew, that was an amazing feeling. Time for round 2. 2 days later, there was one thing that was momentarily on Naruto's mind. Every day he was discovering new variations to the techniques in his repertory, new ways of improving his chakra control, new knowledge that went straight to his brain with incredible speed. A different approach to further mastering stuff he knew. It was mind-boggling just how much he missed during those years when his brain was functioning on lower level. Just how much material he could uncover that would gain his attention. All in all, the limit of only 100 shadow clones for training purposes was slowly becoming a huge problem. After the last few weeks he accumulated so much knowledge he was eager to try, and 100 clones was simply not enough anymore. It was very tempting to try to use more of them, but after his last attempt, the thought of the splitting headache always stopped him from actually doing it. So there was only one thing he could do. He had to start cutting off some of the things he trained in. Being a 12-year-old boy, it was making him irritated. Thankfully, he wasn't a complete moron anymore, so he could somewhat keep calm and not snap at the first person that approached him. Not that it happened that often. Kids and villagers were still wary of him, and the quiet time of no pranks coupled with his more mature attitude only made them more suspicious. So, it was because of his new attitude that he could think about it and admit one thing. 100 clones, 200 clones, or even 1,000 of them. No matter how many clones he would use for training, there wasn't a way for a human being to learn everything on this world that he would want to. It would be possible only in one case. If there was nothing else that could interest him from this day onward. Even a 12-year-old kid like Naruto knew that it would actually never happen. The human race was always intrigued by the things it noticed all around itself. Endless possibilities everywhere. With that in mind, Naruto changed his training regiment. His clones were now, until further notice, doing the following. 20 clones were learning Wind Jutsu. 20 clones were learning Earth Jutsu. 10 clones were learning Fireball Jutsu. 10 clones were doing library research. 10 clones were practicing Taijutsu. 20 clones were learning Genjutsu. 10 clones were doing water walking to improve chakra control. Those were the things Naruto deemed the most important for the time being. Little did he know, he would change his regiment very soon. 10 days later. Could you please repeat that, Kakashi-sensei? I don't think I heard you right. Naruto stared at Team 7's Jonin-sensei in disbelief. What the dobe said. Sasuke HMPH'd after him. Sakura only gulped when she noticed the excited flames in eyes of the both boys. Kakashi facepalmed. Am I really that bad? He sulked mentally. You heard right. I said that we are going on another C-rank mission. I believe that enough time has passed since the mission in Wave Country and that you're all ready even if something similar should happen. Kakashi stated, eyes smiling at them encouragingly. Well, mainly at Sakura, who was still unsure, as Sasuke looked as if Kakashi just told him that he got rid of all of his fangirls. Naruto smiled too, but in his head, he was eyeing the rest of his team suspiciously. How can Kakashi-sensei claim that he believes we all are ready for unexpected? Did Sasuke or Sakura approach him for training? Nah, Sakura is still a fangirl and Sasuke's ego is too big for him to just ask for help with something. Memories of their shared tree climbing training came to his mind, when Sasuke begrudgingly asked Naruto for some tips. Although, he may have swallowed his pride. We'll see. So what is this mission? He glanced at Kakashi, who was once again engrossed in his little orange book, grinning perversely. Kakashi coughed to regain his composure after reading a particularly spicy scene. Oh Yuko, you dirty girl. Similar to the Wave mission, it consists mainly of escort service and protection for two men, Tenichi and Kenichi, a father and son. They asked for Konoha for safe arrival to their small village near the Tenchi Bridge in the village hidden in the grass. Since that village is our ally and couldn't offer its shinobi for this particular mission, Konoha offered its help. He explained and nodded to Sakura, who had a raised hand. Why do they need an escort if their village is small? I mean, I doubt that they are such prominent figures that they would be afraid of mugging, right? She questioned nervously. Doesn't matter, we finally have a C-rank mission. I want to go as soon as we can. Sasuke suddenly stated, giving Sakura a slight glare. Kakashi quickly waved his hands between them to diffuse the tension. No need to get snippy, Sasuke. We are doing this mission, don't worry. To answer your question, Sakura, no, they are not celebrities nor they are overly rich. However, They mentioned that they received a message from their village that it was being assaulted by a band of bandits and there is a possibility that they are still there. Hearing this, Sakura gulped, but she didn't want to aggravate Sasuke further, so she stayed quiet. We will meet them in 1 hour at Konoha gates. Pack your things quickly. We will travel a lot slower, so this mission will take few days at least. Kakashi added and waited until Sakura and Sasuke ran to their homes. Naruto too was on his way but was forced to stop when Kakashi appeared in front of him with a serious expression on his face. Raising one eyebrow, Naruto coughed. What is it, Kakashi-sensei? The Jonin appeared to hesitate for a moment before deciding on something. I'm sorry for singling you out, but this concerns only you and I'm not sure if it would be wise telling this to Sasuke or Sakura. Naruto tapped with his foot. I'm waiting, Kakashi-sensei. I didn't think this through. I definitely didn't think this through. Kakashi thought. Listen, Naruto. I don't know how much attention you paid to the instructors in the academy when they were talking about geography, but just so you know, the village hidden in the grass and the small country it is located in are the only things that separate the land of the fire and the land of the earth. Therefore, there is some risk of us getting into contact with Iwagakers, the village hidden by rocks, shinobi. He sent a meaningful look to Naruto, who tried to remain calm, as he was suspecting what was Kakashi trying to say. So, why should it bother just me? Naruto asked, in his mind grateful that his voice didn't waver. Kakashi stayed silent for a moment, carefully analyzing Naruto's expression. The genin was hoping that his blank stare would fool the copy nin. Naruto, I know that the fourth Hokage was always your idol, so you must know about him and his exploits. It was during the Third Shinobi World War that the fourth Hokage gained his famous nickname, Konoha's Yellow Flash. With one jutsu he managed to decimate a whole platoon of Iwa's shinobi, practically ending the war itself. That's why, to this day, many Iwa's shinobi are most likely holding a grudge against him. Kakashi replied, his expression becoming quite melancholic, which Naruto noticed but failed to examine later. Once again, Kakashi-sensei, why does it concern me? Naruto's hands shook a little, but, fortunately, Kakashi was paying close attention only to his face. Ah, he's not making this easy. Damn it, should I tell him this? I'm inclined to say that 2 months ago, I'd have no problems with this, but nowadays Naruto looks and acts much more mature and level-headed than before, and he may suspect something. No. I have to tell him or he might lose his life, and I can't allow that. Kakashi gathered his resolve and looked Naruto dead in the eyes. Because your resemblance with the fourth Hokage is quite extreme, and with these new clothes, you're a splitting image of him. Did he just say what I think he said? He actually said it out loud. The nerve of this guy. Fine, I don't have any hard evidence that would support my theory, but still. Although, the impression Kakashi-sensei is giving off talks a lot. I have to try to remain calm so that he wouldn't suspect anything. I don't want him to think that I know something or things would get messy, and no matter how much I want to know about my parents, in an hour I will need to be able to concentrate on the mission. Naruto's mind was working at 100%, trying to somehow absorb the implications and remain calm. With a pure force of will, he created a happy smile on his face. That's great. I'm a step closer to becoming a Hokage like the fourth was, aren't I? His little stutter went unnoticed and Kakashi visibly relaxed with a heavy sigh. He shot Naruto a thumbs up. Of course, Naruto, but that's why you have to be more careful than Sasuke or Sakura. Sasuke is the last surviving member of the Uchiha that's still in this village, but he is of no interest to Iwagakure. However, if they spot you, I'm afraid that they would attack you instantly, and if that happens, I want you to run and find me. Naruto quickly nodded and excused himself. Ma, I was worrying for nothing. I must have been imagining things after the wave mission. He's still the same genin at the core. Kakashi falsely thought and hurried to meet their clients. Meanwhile, Naruto was nearing his apartment. When he stepped inside his small home, he collapsed on the ground, breathing heavily. Leaning on the wall, he cursed quietly. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. Kakashi-sensei, it's so obvious, you know the truth. So why aren't you saying anything? Do I, the one who should know it in the first place, have no right to know the truth? Why? He punched the floor beneath him angrily and cursed again. Why? Damn it. Hour later, Gates of Konoha. The blonde was pacing around in circles, slightly calmer than an hour before. Okay. I should be fine now. I already promised myself that I'll only gather information about my parents if I can find it and I won't look for it intentionally. Now I'm completely positive that Kakashi-sensei knows the truth. I'll just have to wait until he tells me, and there must be something that prevents him from doing it. No, calm down, you're getting frustrated again. Naruto was talking to himself mentally while he and the rest of Team 7 waited for their clients to arrive at the gates of Konoha. Sakura was unusually quiet and only occasionally glancing at Sasuke, who was rather focused on the task ahead of him. The prospect of doing a C-ranked mission again was quite a remedy for his mood and he hadn't frowned or grimaced even once in the past hour. Kakashi was leisurely reading his favorite Ika novel. Surprisingly, he was the first one at the gates, which garnered him a shocked look from Sakura, an amused shake of the head from Naruto, and a surprised, HMPH, from Sasuke. Ah, sorry Kakashi-san, Kenichi mistook the time for departure so we're a little late. Naruto turned around to see a middle-aged, average-looking man with a hard jawline and edged chin wearing standard merchant clothing. The only thing that stood out on him was a long ponytail swinging behind his head. We're paying them so they'd wait for us no matter how long it would take for us to come, father. A kid, probably 15 years old by Naruto's estimate, slightly taller than Sasuke and Naruto, lazily started walking from behind his parent. Okay, I already don't like this guy. Surprisingly, the same thought went through both Naruto's and Sasuke's mind when looking at the merchant's son, Kenichi. The boy had only one plus. He was wearing nice clothes and his face would be quite handsome, if he wasn't scowling at Team 7. Though, his appearance was enough for Sakura to ignore his verbal jab and she hurried to check him out. He's quite good looking, just below Sasuke-kun. The pink-haired Kunoichi thought. Blasphemy, Sasuke-kun is loads better than him, cha. Inner Sakura quickly added, forcing Sakura to nod to herself in real life. Kenichi, be nice. They are going to guard us. Tenichi reprimanded his son loudly and turned to Kakashi. Sorry about my son. Kakashi just waved in dismissal. It's fine Tenichi-san. These are my students. The blondie is Naruto, Pinky is Sakura and the brooder is Sasuke. He pointed to each of the genin, earning 3 scowls. Tenichi nodded to them while Kenichi snorted and, after looking at Sakura the longest, he mumbled, meh, big forehead and flat as a table. I thought that at least the girl would be a bit good-looking, after which Naruto and Sasuke had to physically restrain their female comrade from jumping at the boy in anger. Kakashi only sighed and moved forward. This is going to be a long mission. 2.5 days later, few miles until the village. Just like Kakashi predicted, the journey so far was indeed long. It even felt longer than it really was, thanks to the constant verbal match between Kenichi and Sakura. The girl had been angry at him since their meeting at Konoha Gates and Kenichi didn't do anything to change the vibe he was giving off. On the contrary, since his comments seemed to easily rile Sakura up, he only regularly came up with new jibes. It left Sasuke and Naruto with the task of holding the girl off from him. He wouldn't admit it out loud, but even if he couldn't bring himself to like the guy, Naruto had to acknowledge that Kenichi could make up interesting insults. That was until the boy tried to do the same with him. Only with his will of fire, Naruto was able to resist strangling Kenichi who, after getting no visible reaction from him, focused his insults back at Sakura. Kenichi once tried it on Sasuke, but one stare with the added effect of the glowing Sharingan quickly shut him up. Even Kakashi was on the receiving end of provoking. But with his cool attitude like, oh, you said something, the Jonin quickly forced Kenichi to return to Sakura. So there they were, 2.5 days later, slowly nearing the small village. Everything was going as planned. Nobody tried to rob or attack them. Even the weather was beautiful that day, with the sun mightily shining on their faces while the light breeze constantly cooled them off. Even Kenichi was in a good mood, talking with his father and, for once, not trying to insult anyone. Despite all of this, there was a dreadful feeling growing in Naruto's stomach. It was like an animalistic instinct telling him that there was a danger of some sort ahead of them. He slowly approached Kakashi and waited for the man to notice him. Yes, Naruto. The said genin came closer and pointed with his eyes to the land in front of them. Kakashi-sensei, I don't know why, but I have a bad feeling about this mission. Something tells me that we won't find a happy village, waiting for two of their civilians with eagerness. On the contrary, it's as if something bad happened to them. I'm sorry if I sound like a crazy person, but he stopped with his open mouth when Kakashi shook his head. It's not just you, Naruto. Unfortunately, I feel the same. The land, the country around us feels dead. No, I must correct myself. It reeks of death. I think you're right, and what we'll see won't be pretty. Be cautious and inform Sasuke and Sakura too. Kakashi whispered, trying not to be heard by their clients. Naruto immediately slowed down and reached his two teammates to report the news. As he expected, Sakura was oblivious to the feeling while Sasuke admitted to being nervous for some unknown reason. When the outskirts of the village were visible, Naruto felt a growl in his mind. What is it, Kyuubi? The nine-tailed beast growled again. Death. Naruto widened his eyes at that and, cursing his own luck, he sped up, passing Kakashi and leaving the rest of the team behind. No, Naruto. Shit. Kakashi tried to unsuccessfully stop his student. Sasuke. Sakura. Remember the formation, there's trouble ahead. Tread with caution. Tenichi-san, Kenichi-san, keep yourselves between me and those two, and, whatever happens, don't leave that position. Kakashi yelled at the rest of his team. Sakura gulped and nodded along with Sasuke, who, for once, wasn't eager for a fight. However, Kakashi's yell managed to freak out their clients, who started to run, trying to get to the village as fast as they could. Now cursing heavily, Kakashi sped up and arrived before the rest, only a moment after Naruto did. Warning. Blood and gore ahead. ... Wah wah. What the hell is this? Naruto fell on his knees, ghostly pale at the sight he would remember for the rest of his life. Kakashi was at loss for words. Kakashi-sensei. What hap? Sasuke and Sakura stopped next to their sensei, but the question in their eyes died as soon as they turned to see the village. Or what was left of it. One could tell that it must have been a very nice and pleasant town once. If only you could see what was under the countless dead bodies scattered all around. It was truly a horrific sight, seeing chopped legs hanging from nearby trees, arms lying on the roofs full of blown holes, and eyeless heads impaled on short sticks, just aimlessly rolling on the ground. Those heads that were lucky enough to have their eyeballs still intact were prey to the flock of crows that were cackling loudly, adding to the dead atmosphere. It took them only a moment, but all of the genin had to turn around. Never in their life have they vomited as hard as that day. Kakashi-san, is pointing at Sakura with his eyes. Naruto nodded back and silently thanked him. I'll have to thank Kakashi-sensei. Sasuke sighed nervously. Kakashi glanced at the shaking Sakura and mouthed a silent, thank you, in shock. He was completely nude and tied to a dinner table, the woman that talked to him hovering slightly above his belly with a bloody knife and even more bloody hands. She was shaking terribly, maybe from shock, maybe from the insanity that was present in her eyes. She plunged her hand into the deep wound she'd made on the boy's body and sighed in content. You're so warm, almost like your sister was, hee. Oh my god. Naruto arrived just in time to see the woman pulling out her hand, full of the boy's innards. He hunched over and vomited again. When he wiped his mouth and looked closer, he had to take a step back. Are those intestines that she's wearing as a scarf? He thought numbly. The woman hadn't noticed him and just circled around the table, giving Naruto a view of the two small bodies that were with her in the room. Naruto froze and started to shake. His eyes filled themselves with tears. His veins filled themselves with rage. And his killing intent returned with such force that the woman had to stop walking. His face expressionless, he walked forward, barely registering the blood-soaked floor. The scene before him was even worse than the one he saw in the center of the village. A small frame of a girl, younger than him, was lying on the bed, fully naked, which he couldn't even notice. The reason was simple. She was bloodied to the point where no spot on her body was clean. Her face was twisted in agony at what she must have felt from the obvious marks of torture she had on herself. Her small body was covered with cuts and gashes, some of the skin on her arms was missing, and a huge hole was present at the place where her belly button should have been. However, the worst part was something else. It was a thick wooden stick that was plunged into her genitalia so deep that the tip was visible through the hole in her belly. If he'd had any food left in his stomach, Naruto was sure that it would already be spitted out. A small movement caught his attention and he turned around. To see the last breath of the boy on the table. He was still alive, he thought in horror, and his rage intensified. With a swift movement he kicked the woman out of the small cabin and followed her flying body. Outside he watched as she slowly got up, laughing madly. Hee hee, I'll have another nice scarf, hee hee. Naruto grimaced in disgust and clenched his fists. I don't know your circumstances or anything, but after what you've done, you don't deserve to live. He quietly snapped at the woman and flashed to her with his right fist, aiming at her torso. When he made contact with the woman, her torso suddenly exploded in a shower of blood. With a gaping hole in her chest, the crazy woman gurgled and fell on the ground, dead before her body hit it. Naruto flinched when he opened his palm and watched as the wounds in it started to heal, thanks to Kyuubi. He suddenly spoke to his tenant in a numb voice. You know, Kyuubi, in moments like these, I can almost understand your hatred towards the human race. We really are savages in fancy clothes, animals in disguise. A small growl answered him. What do you want me to say, brat? That you're wrong. No. Someone that would turn on his own race and do such despicable things to them is not worthy of living. I am the Kyuubi, a nine-tailed fox. I hate the human race and I enjoy killing humans. I hate animals and I enjoy killing them too. I am the embodiment of hate and destruction. I even hate some of my fellow Biju and would gladly beat them down, and I would enjoy it. But every action I do is swift and precise. I don't torture others for my pleasure. That's something that is reserved for humans. Naruto laughed hollowly. Do you want to know the funny part? I believe that you are less of a monster than some people. He averted his gaze from the woman's dead body with a repulsed scowl. It seems that my promise to Haku will take a long time to accomplish. Damn, kid, you're brutal. Naruto widened his eyes at the foreign voice coming from behind him. Very slowly he reached to his pouch and twisted around to face the newcomer with a kunai already in his hand. Who are you? He yelled instantly. Well, if you. The unknown person suddenly screamed and her face twisted itself in anger. That confused Naruto, and the only thing he was able to notice before he had to dodge incoming kunai was a forehead protector, and he quietly cursed. The person in front of him was a shinobi. A shinobi from Iwagakure.